I hire people who disagree with me. And so some have disagreed on the right, some have disagreed on the left, and then they have come out.
This explains the entire cavalcade of right-wing grifters that have come out of TYT.
Okay, and you guys know recently someone who we liked and really supported.
So this could just be me, but I don't think that a left-wing progressive news network should hire conservatives. And I don't think it's okay if they go off the rails and turn it into a far-right grift career. Now, maybe this is just me being, you know, overly strict, but I don't think you should do that.
Well, I'm for, apparently the new standard is everyone must agree.
Well, kind of, yeah. On the basic gists, yeah. You run a politically partisan news network. We're not doing the centrist bit. TYT markets itself as left-wing and progressive. So, yeah, you ideally would have an entire, like, everyone who works there ideally should be more or less in line. People won't agree fully on everything, of course. There will be some people who are a little more conservative on this, a little more leftist on this. And because I'm left-leaning, so I'm fine with this. I don't mind, certainly, socialists or communists getting involved to sort of, you know, add an alternative opinion. You know, I don't mind that, but that's because I'm one of them. So that's my bias. But like, yeah, there should be a pretty strong degree of ideological collaboration, I think.
Do I go to Twitter and ask the left-wing activists or the ones pretending to be activists for our side? Okay, guys, since apparently no one voted, but apparently you guys are the arbiters of what's on the left, despite the fact that the polling shows that you are not. You're often very, very, very wrong.
If I recall correctly, Cenk still likes Vaush, but Anna abhors him. Yeah, guys, you might be surprised to hear this. I like Cenk. I see him as, I think he's misguided on a lot of things. I see him as sincere. He also sticks by his guns a lot, which I respect a lot. He's done a lot of stuff I don't agree with, but I feel like the world would be a lot easier and a lot simpler in terms of like interpersonal relationships, like figuring people out, if everyone had this sort of straightforward gusto of this guy. You know, even if I disagree with him a lot, it's just Anna's really been bothering me, man. I'm not over that. I talked with her both in private and publicly. In private, when she was getting roasted for her takes on California not incarcerating for people long enough, incarcerating people for long enough, rather than trash her publicly, I DM'd her privately, asked her what was up, and she talked about it with me. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, you know, I read some articles that she sent me. I tried to engage with her privately because I respected her enough to not make it a public spectacle. I had her on stream, and it was a very good conversation. I covered her debate with Shapiro, and that was a great debate. And then like nothing. Like she just, then gas leak. And now she won't talk to me. And that's fine. That's her right. It just makes her a bitch. I feel like Cenk would talk to me, though. I feel like I could DM him and he would respond to me. Well, maybe. He's kind of a boomer. He's not a bitch. He would respond to me. Maybe he'd disagree with me, but he's out there in the trenches on Twitter. Arguing. Oh, I know Cenk would debate me, yeah.
And by the way, it doesn't matter if people yell at me. I've been through it 100 times. Everyone here knows we've been through it 100 times, right? And every time, oh, Jimmy Dore is right. Oh, Sam Harris is right. And then later, oops, yeah, they're totally wrong. Oh, Tulsi Gabbard is, oops, Young Turks were right again. Oops. But do they learn anything from that? No. And
okay, you guys have had a lot of L's you haven't learned from either, to be fair. The biggest criticism I see against TYT is the fact they've spawned so many right-wing grifters.
I'm still going to support trans community. I'm still going to support gay rights 100%. I'm going to support both those communities 100%. And as you'll see, likely be the toughest and strongest fighter for them. I don't care if some trans people or anyone in any leftist community yells at me.
Okay, it's just the co-host of the show, Anna Kasparian, has been doing some weird shit lately. Okay? I feel like at the very least, like, look at this shit. Not her, Anna. Like, I feel like exercising a little bit of editorial authority over the messaging that comes from your ostensibly progressive left news channel is a reasonable expectation. Partisan news channels, and this is partisan, you're progressive left, that's good. It's good to be partisan when you're right. Partisan news channels don't exist to be a neutral platform for any old person to jump on and say shit. You exist to advance a specific position or set of positions. That's what we want you to do. That's what your audience wants you to do. That's what you're expected to do. That's what the right does. There can be variance, good faith discourse, investigation of positions, changed positions within that framework, but altogether, your purpose is still to be an advocate for those positions. And if there's disagreement or confusion or contention, something I'm no stranger to, you might want to engage with it in a better way than Anna Kasparian getting 50K likes on a tweet where she freaks out about the term birthing person being used to refer, objectively, to people who can give birth. Like, there are ways to express discontentment with something or to break from established progressive messaging without doing this. Christ, Anna Kasparian was on Adam and Sitch saying that she feels politically homeless. Like, she's literally doing the left shit. I mean, I saw apparently, what's the guy who has like the kangaroo OC? The guy who was like a Nazi, but he also loved Hillary Clinton. What's that YouTuber? I think he's crazy, like actually like cuckoo crazy. Atheism is unstoppable. That's it. He was praising Anna Kasparian's recent arc. If you have autism is unstoppable, praising the intellectual decisions that you have made, that is as much of a fucking red flag as you could ever receive. That is the warning sign sent by God to dissuade you from the path that you have taken.
Some people are convinced that they're political geniuses, and they like to lean into fighting on the wrong grounds, right? And they say, oh, politics doesn't matter. Well, here's how it matters. When you lose elections, they pass 70 laws against the LGBTQ community. You want to win election.
I will acknowledge that if you are an anti-electoralist, you basically have no right to criticize anyone ever for anything because you're retarded. I will acknowledge that if you're one of those people where in the current environment, the Republicans and the Democrats are more ideologically separate than they ever have been in the history of the country, to like point at that and go like, well, not in the history of the country, in the past century and a half, and go like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Why vote for Democrats when all this is happening under a Democratic presidency exclusively in right-wing states controlled by right-wingers? You know, like things will get better if the right controls the entire country.
The maximalist position. So let's not use words like radical, extreme, etc. Let's just say the maximalist position. I think everybody would agree that people that are in the activist community are going for the maximalist position. If you say the maximalist position, whether it's right wing or left wing, always gets you victories, sorry, you don't know politics. That's just not true. It's not remotely true. And so, the American people agree with us anyway on, let's say, for example, one of the disagreements that I have on the issue of trans people in sports. I think that, by the way, the American people don't agree with me either. 70% say that trans people should not participate in any sports that is not in the sex that they were born in, right? Well, I think they should participate in high school, and I think we could win that argument. And I think that the way you win that argument,
I feel like I talked about this specifically. Man, the thing is here, like, first of all, the popularity of an argument is not evidence towards it being right or wrong. Even if 0% of Americans back in 1776 thought that black people were equal to white people, like that doesn't, it's like, that's not how empiricism works, for one. For two, like, regardless of your position on this, even if you were somebody who did not believe that trans women should play sports with cis women, I think you have to acknowledge that this is such an infinitesimally minor wedge issue that the best thing you could do is just not talk about it at all. Like, that's my request. If you are on the left and you're not sold on the trans sports things, okay, I admit there's nuance there. I side with 2 years hormone therapy. It makes it permissible, but like there's a lot of complication there. But if you don't buy that, if you don't believe that, like that's your right. My request then would be that you not dedicate your entire career into driving a stake into the ground and going, this is the line or this is the point or whatever. All of you left people who disagree with me on this, like I'm going to argue with you now. Don't because like when you attack that, you attack all trans rights. There's no way to go, yeah, I think the left has gone crazy with this trans sports thing, comma, but I still support trans rights. You can't really do that because the headline, yeah, I think the left has gone crazy with the trans sports thing, is enough to supply in the attack on trans people broadly. So if this is something you want to engage with it responsibly. It's normal to have disagreements within a movement. That's fine, that's healthy. If you're going to have those disagreements, like, if I was that person, if I had that position, I would have people on to talk about it. I would have my disagreements. I've done this before. I've talked with this before. I've against like race-based reparations as opposed to class-based reparations. Like, there are positions I have that are not fully in line with like every type of progressive message, every like line of political engagement. And what I try to do is I recognize that my disagreements are on kind of like a wedge niche part of a broader like thing that I generally agree with. And I'm not going to let a minor disagreement tear apart the practical work that I can do for the movement, right? I guess the question is, in terms of pure impact, what would you rather do? Engage with the disagreement responsibly and push for a world where broadly things are far better for trans people, but maybe you slightly disagree with like the allowance of trans women to women's sports, or a world where you contribute to the suppression of trans people because you like nitpick and fight with your allies over something that refers to the rights of like a few thousand trans athletes in the country. Anyway, I've made my point. This is just normal coalition building stuff. This is normal coalition building, normal messaging stuff. No group fully agrees on every single issue within their own group. You make practical decisions about what to mainly focus on, because if you can't do that, no group could ever get anything done. This is just basic civil strategy. And Ana Kasparian getting dogpiled on Twitter is not other lefties having this nitpick with her and deciding to make it everything. She was the one who randomly tweeted that birthing person tweet and then went on to allow that trauma of being disagreed with to define successive months of engagement to the point where she's now doing this leave the left bullshit. You know, like the idea that's other people fixating, it's not.
Oh, you hurt my feelings. So from now on, I'm going to be against gay rights or trans rights.